Here we go again. The media has decided that they're going to attack us, me in specific, but really it's a little bit about me, as you'll see. They've got pictures, I'm in the title, etc. But no, it's really about attacking all progressives, and they can't help themselves, so they reveal it in the middle of the article that in fact the attack is about Bernie Sanders and the people who believe in Bernie Sanders, which by the way at this point would be over 60% of the country. So these guys think that they're helping the Democratic Party. These are not right-wing nut jobs, these are left-wing nut jobs. It's a place called the Daily Banter, but really, I know we're bad guys, the Daily Fluffer, because that's what they do. It's like the saddest part of the internet. Guys who are not part of the establishment, but desperately want to be, so they write these little things on this little blog, and they're like, oh, please, establishment, we don't like Bernie Sanders either. And we don't like Cenk. Uyghur's a really bad guy. Really bad guy. Can you please hire me one day? Okay, so am I being unfair? Well, let's find out together, okay? So the headline of the article is, Cenk Uygur denies purity tests for progressives while demanding purity tests for progressives. Now, they are referring to an article that I wrote called Disproving the Myth of the Purity Test. In that article, I say, hey, look guys, first of all, you tell me what you think the progressive purity test is, because the mainstream media constantly attacks progressives for that. It's as if they work for establishment Democrats. And I pointed that out in the article, and I said, so you tell me, because I have never seen it. You guys talk about purity tests, but you never tell me what the purity test is. So then I explained, for example, in the case of the Justice Democrats, and I'm one of the founders of that group, that's the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, as opposed to the corporate wing of the Democratic Party, which apparently Justin Rosario, the writer here, is part of, and proudly so. We have 23 things in our platform. No reporter ever asked me, hey, is your purity test that candidates that Justice Democrats support have to do 23 of the 23 things in your platform? They have to agree to every single position? They didn't even ask. If they had asked, they would have found out, no, actually, you only have to agree to one thing. 1 out of 23. So the so-called purity test is, you can't take corporate or PAC money. And the idea is not because we want to enforce every part of our ideology upon you. It's that we want you to be honest. So if you take donor money, there is excellent evidence that you will represent the donors. So what we're trying to do is get you to represent voters. Oh, these guys who want purity, like you want us to represent the voters? Purity test. But we can disagree on so many other issues. Oh, don't care, nope. But the funny thing is, as they say that I'm doing a purity test, they didn't even actually talk about that in the context of the article for what my purity test is. So substantively, even though it's a giant part of the article, like, oh, he has a purity test, you read and read and read. Well, you're like, where the hell is this purity test? So they're flummoxing. So flummoxing, I think that I probably made that word up. So let's now go to the rest of it. Before we do, they also put a picture of me so you can begin to get a sense of where they're going with this article. That's fun. Gee, I can't tell if they're against me or not, or they're trying to smear me. Okay, now they say, Elizabeth Warren, they claim, one of the most progressive people in all of Congress, will be disappointed to learn she's just another establishment shill. Oh, I guess they must have taken that from my article, except I didn't say that in my article. I didn't mention Elizabeth Warren at all. Well, they must have taken it from something I said on air, except I've actually never said that on air. In fact, on the night of the election of Donald Trump, here's what I tweeted. The very last tweet I sent that night on election night. Mark my words, Elizabeth Warren will destroy Donald Trump in 2020. It will be a historic landslide. Where's the part where I call her a shill and I'm opposed to her? See, they don't care about facts. They don't care about research. They don't care. They got to smear the left. They got to smear progressives. Oh, they want a purity test. They hate you. They even hate Elizabeth Warren. They keep going back to Elizabeth Warren over and over and over again, as if I'm opposed to her, the entirety of the Young Turks opposed to her, just Democrats. It's just totally made up. It's not remotely true, as you can see right there. Okay, they continue. Like most ideologues, Uygur is more than happy to shoot spitballs from the back of the classroom. It's easy to be morally pure when you don't actually have to govern or run for re-election every 2 years. But Justin, that doesn't seem to make much sense, does it? Because I'm not just sitting here in the studio. I actually am one of the founders of Justice Democrats. So we are gonna run in elections, and we're gonna run every 2 years. What are you doing, Justin? Oh, it looks like you're throwing spitballs at me. Are you running, Justin? Is anybody at the Daily Fluffer running for office? Or do you guys roll up your sleeves and, oh, let's go get him? Or is your idea of let's go get them like, hey, establishment Democrats, who would you like me to criticize next completely unfairly without any research? I'll do it, I swear I'll do it. Get in the game, dude, get in the game. Let me see you run. We're gonna run dozens of candidates, okay? And hey, great man, we'll meet you in the battlefield. You back your corporatist Democrats. Oh, Dianne Feinstein. Of course Medicare for all can't happen. It's not pragmatic. No, it's a government takeover. Oh, I love corporate Democrats. You support her, we'll support a primary against her, and I know you'll be so mad. Why do that to beloved Dianne Feinstein? You don't like the Democratic Party. She's such a good corporate Democrat. She agrees with almost all of her donor positions, but she doesn't hate gay people and black people. She's such a good Democrat. Why do you guys have to primary her? Hey, do you think there's some chance that we're gonna lose a Senate seat in California? What's wrong with a primary? Primary is part of democracy. You don't want a primary because you love the status quo. That's exactly what we mean by the establishment. And oh no, primaries actually ruin parties. They lead to electoral losses. Really, what evidence do you have for that? In reality, Republicans have been primarying the hell out of their candidates, and guess what happened? They gained more seats. So primaries actually work. They make the party stronger. There's empirical evidence for that. Okay, he says, then he quotes me, I love this, he says, this is from my article, do you know who the most popular politician in the country is right now? Bernie Sanders. He has a 61% approval rating. Hillary Clinton, the standard bearer for establishment Democrats, has a 35% approval rating. Tell me again why I have to listen to establishment Democrats. So there I state facts, thank you for reiterating them. So now he's gonna have a response, that's why he quoted it. I'm going to read you his response verbatim, the very next thing he says. In response to that, he's like, oh yeah? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, my bad. I thought I was the one that's not pragmatic and is not reasonable. So I state facts and you come with blah, 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 blah. Now, to be fair, his next sentence is, Uygur and the Young Turks can fuck right off. Okay, wait a minute. What part of, you see, but that's what it is. It makes them so mad when you state the facts. When you say Bernie Sanders is very popular and Hillary Clinton is very unpopular, that's a fact, right? They go, facts, blah, blah, blah with facts. Fuck off. Those are my beloved establishment Democrats. How dare you call me establishment? How dare you? Okay, now this might be even better. 2 sentences later, he says, instead of a respectful debate, TYT and their mob become some of the most abusive people on the internet. You just said Uygur and the Young Turks can fuck right off. So what part of that was the respectful debate? No sense of irony whatsoever. All right, more substance. Now we finally get to the heart of the matter. Who cares about me, right? Look, we've got 80 million unique viewers on the internet. Some of the guys who work at the Daily Fluffer know that and it drives them crazy, right? I bet you most of them have bought into the Washington groupthink. They're like, oh, it's the internet, I don't believe it. Dude, you guys are on the internet. I don't know what internet numbers are, I don't believe it, right? So why bother attacking me? Because it's not about me, it's about Bernie Sanders. So here's him going off on him. Everyone that did not support Bernie and hate Hillary with all their heart and soul were labeled unclean neoliberals. And after Bernie lost the primaries, they continued to scream about how evil and wicked Hillary was. That's funny, I thought I said that you should vote for Hillary Clinton instead of Donald Trump. I'm pretty sure I said that, and I'm pretty sure I got a lot of heat and criticism for that, right? But no, according to the upside down world of Justin Rosario, no, you said Hillary's evil, and you said not to vote for it. Well, that's just not true. So yet another case where you didn't bother checking any of your facts. But you can tell, oh, Bernie Sanders folks drives him crazy. And he says now, unless you think Bernie is completely innocent, he's still hard at work applying his own purity test to the Democratic Party he so obviously despises. Here we go, there you go. Let it out, Justin, let it out. Bernie, he despises the Democrats. He has a purity test, it's Bernie's fault. Right, that's what I thought. Then he goes on to smear him. Oh, we're right back in this, man. And they'll say we started it, right? Listen to what he writes here. Sure, you ladies and your women's parts, this is referring to what he's claiming is Bernie's stance. Sure, you ladies and your women's parts are important, but you're gonna have to wait your turn. Same for you blacks and Latinos. We'll get to you later, but first we have to fix things for the working class. Well, the white working class at least. Now, when did Bernie Sanders tell you that your lady parts have to wait? When did he say blacks and Latinos have to wait? He never said any of that. When did he ever say white working class? He never said any of that. You see that? He just accused them of being sexist and racist. We're right back in the muck. This civil war ain't going nowhere, man. The only question is, are you gonna fight back or not? The establishment will smear us to no end, and they'll never, God knows who the Daily Fluffers are getting paid by, but they're going out there and they're like, okay, go attack, call Bernie racist and sex again. By the way, why are they attacking Bernie again? Why are they attacking the left again? Because Bernie Sanders wouldn't do exactly as he was told. So he didn't endorse, or he hesitated before endorsing a Democratic candidate. They're like, get in line, Bernie, bow your head. He said, well, look, I want to do progressive priorities, and you guys aren't voting that way. Get in line, Bernie, otherwise we release the hounds. And they have released the hounds. So Slate does an article, Washington Post does an article about how weird Bernie Sanders is, right after Bernie Sanders upsets the establishment. Then Slate does an article about how much his podcast sucks, even though it's ranked #2 podcast in the country. And they go, yeah, but that's weird and you shouldn't listen to it. And then these guys start attacking us left and right. So, now, but it turns out he's not just racist and sexist. They also say the LGBT community would like to be able to hold hands in public without being fired from their job or bullied in their school. None of these things are problems for Sanders and his many white and male followers, so they consider it a secondary issue. Where did you get that from? Quote, one thing that Bernie Sanders has said, or one law that he has championed that would tell you that he's against LGBT rights. Well, you can't, because he has a stellar record on that. He's been fighting for that for decades while Hillary Clinton and your establishment buddies were still debating gay marriage. Well, my position on that has evolved. It evolved in 2013. But now you're gonna smear Bernie is not sufficiently pro-LGBT rights? Why? Because you gotta put a hatchet in his back. And this isn't about facts. This is about the establishment attacking anyone who's actually progressive. And yes, Justin, you are not progressive. If you say, let's take corporate money, our politicians should take it and do exactly as they're told, and we shouldn't do Medicare for all, and we shouldn't fight for any of those progressive priorities, and we shouldn't fight for education for all of our kids to have the American dream, well then no, that is not a progressive position. Sad day for you. Just admit it, move on with your life. Just say, I kind of like the pro-establishment position. That's why I work at the Daily Fluffer. That's our whole job. Just say it, Justin, say it, okay? And then he ironically says, there's nothing wrong with Bernie's goals, but attaining them by throwing the rest of the Democratic coalition under the bus is not the way to go. But wait a minute, you just told me he's a sexist, a racist, and against LGBT rights. You didn't call him those words, but you obviously implied it when you say he doesn't care about women, and he doesn't prioritize blacks and Latinos or LGBT. So why do you say now, pretend that you're on his side? You're not on his side. You're not pushing for those progressive goals, so just say it, Justin. Stop pretending. Okay, now finally back to me. He says the saddest part of all this is that we all want the same goals, but again, agree to disagree. But while us pragmatic progressives understand that it's a long road with lots of setbacks, Uygur wants all of those goals reached right now. And if you're not willing to burn the country to the ground to get it, you're not a real progressive. You're just part of the establishment and their status quo. Well, okay. People who actually talk about getting things right now, it's true, they're not real progressives. You know, it's us people. We're not pragmatic. We don't know how to get things done. Let me quote you a guy who talked about getting things done now. We have also come to this hallowed spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of now. This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. That was not me or Bernie Sanders, that was Martin Luther King Jr. talking about the fierce urgency of now. What is not pragmatic is what the Democratic establishment has done. They have lost the White House to a buffoon. Bernie Sanders didn't run against Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton, your beloved Hillary Clinton did, and she was a miserable failure. You know why we have Donald Trump? Because of you, because of Hillary Clinton and because of the establishment. They ran a status quo campaign when we told you the American people didn't want status quo. We warned you and we were right and you were wrong and it stings, and unfortunately your grotesque error leads to all of our pain right now. You caused Donald Trump. Secondly, you lost the Senate when you thought you were going to win it. You lost the House. You lost the Supreme Court. You lost 69 out of 99 state legislatures. What part of that is pragmatic? What part of that is winning? No. Establishment Democrats have a record of grotesque failure, hideous failure. The reason Justice Democrats exist in the first place is to make sure that we stop those losses. Our idea is run to get votes. That's pragmatic. Represent the voters and they will vote for you. I know to the establishment who is so used to pleasing their donors, that seems like an outrageous thought, but it isn't. It's a democratic thought. And we will run in primaries and we will take out all these corporate establishment Democrats, and then we will beat the Republicans. You obviously have no idea how to do that. So step aside, Butch. We got it from here, okay? Go fluff somewhere else. JusticeDemocrats.com. Whether you like it or not, we're not spitballing here. We will meet you in the battlefield and we will kick those establishment Democrats in the ass. We will take their seats and then we will maul the Republicans. Because we're not gonna run pro-banker campaigns. We're gonna run campaigns where we're talking about jobs and justice, and we're gonna win. So, hey, listen, we'll meet you in the battlefield, and if I'm wrong, you'll get to write as many snarky articles as you like. But I'm not gonna be wrong. We're gonna crush you. Podcast The Young Turks anytime you want. TYTnetwork.com/join.
I think it's weird.
No, it's not weird. In fact, you'll think,
I'm like a smart person.
Do it now. TYTnetwork.com/join.